Okay, let's kick things off with a big thought. What if the whole idea of a traditional job, trading time for money, is
Mm.
ending?
It's a huge idea, and
Mm.
replacing it maybe with individuals owning their own, like, armies of AI agents.
Exactly. That's the really fascinating future we're diving into today.
And the sources we looked at, they're not just hinting at small changes. They're talking about a potentially redefining how we think about wealth, work, even how we're governed.
Right. Which brings us to the title for this deep dive. 100,000 AI agents in your pocket. The future of wealth, labor, and governance in the decentralized era.
Quite a title.
It is. So we're going to unpack what these AI agents really are, how they might become these new wealth generators,
Hmm.
look at how work itself changes, and yeah, touch on those pretty radical ideas about decentralized governance.
All based on the material we've dug into.
Yep. And the goal is really to help you make sense of this potential shift, what it could mean.
So, stepping back a bit, the fundamental concept here from the sources is pretty revolutionary. That old equation, your income equals the time you put in times your skill times your effort. That might be, well, fading.
Right. That's been the bedrock for ages, hasn't it? Work hard, use your skills, put in the hours, get paid. Simple.
But this new idea flips it. It suggests future wealth might flow much more to the people who actually build and, crucially, own these intelligent agents.
Not necessarily the big companies we think of now, but individuals owning the means of digital production, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. Which immediately makes you ask, okay, what is an intelligent agent? How is it different from, say, ChatGPT or other AI we use now?
Good question. Because the sources are pretty clear, it's more than just a fancy chatbot.
Definitely. They really emphasize a few key things. These agents are goal-driven, right? They have objectives.
Okay. And they actually do things.
Yes, they execute tasks, they can use different tools to get the job done, they can figure out when they mess up and self-correct.
Ah, self-correcting. That's important.
Crucial.
Yeah.
And they're autonomous. They don't need someone looking over their shoulder constantly. Think less employee, more independent contractor, maybe.
An independent digital contractor. Makes sense.
And the examples given really help picture it. Imagine an AI acting as your real estate agent.
Doing what? Finding leads.
Finding leads, handling negotiations, even drafting the contracts. Seriously.
Wow.
Or picture a marketing agent. It doesn't just write a blog post. It creates the content, figures out the best time to post it everywhere, optimizes the ads based on how they're doing, and then gives you a report.
all on its own.
Pretty much. Then there's the legal bot example, scanning contracts, flagging risks, suggesting edits.
Okay, I see the power of one,
Hmm.
but the title mentions thousands.
Right. And that's the kicker, according to the sources. The real power isn't one agent, it's the multiplicative effect. Imagine deploying, say, 100 agents, all working in parallel on different things for you.
That's a different level. And is this actually becoming feasible? Because AI used to be incredibly expensive, complex.
That's the other major point. The speed of change here is staggering. The sources really hammer home how dramatically the cost and complexity of training and deploying these agents have plummeted.
So it's not just theory anymore.
Not at all. Think back just a few years. You needed like a whole engineering team for anything serious.
Right, PhDs and huge budgets.
Now, the material suggests you can use prompts, clever instructions to get AI doing really complex stuff. Taxes, business plans, customer outreach, drafting contracts, running ad campaigns.
Just with prompts.
Essentially, yes, well-crafted prompts, but still. And looking ahead just a bit, the sources suggest we're heading towards a point where deploying a whole workforce of these agents could cost, like, less than a coffee.
Get out. Seriously.
That's the projection. The main thing needed now, apparently, is that platform layer, basically. User-friendly ways to manage all these agents easily.
Okay, this sounds potentially disruptive.
Yep.
So who wins in this scenario? Who actually benefits from this shift?
Well, the sources draw a pretty sharp parallel to the platform economy. I think Uber, maybe Airbnb.
How so?
Remember how those platforms created value? But a lot of the financial upside went to the stockholders, the platform owner, maybe more so than the individual drivers or hosts.
Yeah, that's a common critique.
So the prediction is we might see a similar split. You could have AI users versus AI trainers, consumers versus distributors, or maybe the starkest divide, traditional employees versus the actual owners of these AI agents.
Right, the people who control the digital workforce.
Exactly. But here's where it gets potentially more hopeful, maybe.
Oh.
The sources argue that the barrier to becoming an owner and trainer is much lower than, say, starting a traditional company.
Meaning you don't need millions in venture capital.
Pretty much. You don't necessarily need a PhD or massive funding to get started in owning and directing agents.
So the path to wealth might change.
Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
The new equation suggested is something like your wealth equals the quality of agents you control plus the strength of the network you build.
Quality plus network. Interesting. It hints at maybe a bit more democratization.
In theory, yes. Lower barrier to entry.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, the sources also talk about something pretty unconventional. AI agents in governance.
Yeah, this is where it gets quite forward-looking, maybe even a bit sci-fi for
How
some.
does that even work? AI politicians.
Well, maybe not politicians, but think about examples like AI court judges analyzing case data objectively, or AI systems validating votes securely,
Okay, verifying things. I can see that.
or even AI managing public funds, allocating resources based purely on data and projected outcomes, not, political favors or ideology.
Taking the politics out of it.
That seems to be the idea. And get this, the concept of weighted prompts replacing elections.
Weighted prompts instead of voting.
Yeah. So instead of voting left or right, you might deploy agents with specific instructions, and decisions are made based on measurable things.
Like what?
Like the system's confidence in a successful outcome, or past results of similar actions, or minimizing potential harm, data-driven stuff.
So decisions based on computation, not just opinion or ideology.
That's the vision. It leads to this term they use, the agent state. A society potentially run more on intelligence, ethics programmed in, and real-time data.
Wow. That's a lot to think about. An agent state.
It is definitely a departure from current systems.
So let's bring this down to the personal level. The title says 100,000 agents in your pocket. How does this actually affect, you, the listener?
Right. The sources stress that in this kind of decentralized future, your digital wallet and the intelligent agents you control become incredibly valuable, central to your life, maybe.
So that 100,000 number,
Yeah.
it's suggesting you'd manage a whole portfolio of different agents.
Exactly. Imagine you have your legal agent, your investment agent, your marketing agent, maybe a research agent.
A health coach agent, a reputation tracker.
All sorts. Even governance agents to participate in those decentralized systems we just talked about. All accessible maybe through your phone or whatever device.
And they work together
Mm-hmm.
or for you independently.
The vision is that you essentially operate as your own platform. Your agents are out there talking to other agents, negotiating deals, signing digital contracts, moving tokens around.
And reporting back to your dashboard.
Yeah, all happening autonomously in the background, working towards your goals.
That's a fundamental shift in how we interact with the digital world.
Totally. And this is where the source material brings in a specific organization, X365.
Okay, what's their role in this picture, according to the sources?
Their stated mission is basically to build this future,
Yeah.
to architect it.
Oh. What are they developing?
The material mentions a few key pieces, things like quantum mining, which sounds like it's about providing the sheer energy needed for all this AI.
Makes sense. AI needs power.
Then the academy, which seems focused on teaching people how to build and use these agents. Education is key.
Right. You need people to understand it.
Also, tokenomics, presumably the economic system for access and value within their network, an affiliate model to help it grow.
Spreading the network effect.
Uh-huh. And something called a reputation score, like an on-chain resume showing how reliable you and your agents are. Transparency.
Okay. And what's their ultimate goal with all this?
What's interesting is they say they don't want to build one giant AI. Their stated aim is to empower lots of individuals. They mention a target of 10 million people.
10 million.
Yeah, to each build a large number of agents. That 100,000 number comes up again.
So millions of people, each with tens or hundreds of thousands of agents.
That's the vision presented. They call it the X365 Agent Network, a way to scale intelligence, but in a distributed way.
Okay, so based on all this, what does the source material suggest someone listening right now should actually do if they're interested but maybe don't have an AI background?
It gives some pretty concrete starting points, actually.
Like what?
First, start learning about agent architecture. Just get familiar with the basic ideas, how these things work. You don't need to be an expert coder initially.
Just understand the concepts.
Second, it mentions accumulating their token, $365, suggesting it's important for participating in this economy they're building.
Right, the tokenomics piece.
Third, share the vision. Build your own referral network. Leverage that affiliate model they mentioned.
Networking is still key, even with AI.
Seems so. And finally, it suggests finding an easy entry point, like a $10 pack was mentioned, just to get started and see how it works.
So low-risk ways to dip your toe in.
Exactly. The overall message is really about engagement. Don't just watch this happen. Find ways to participate to potentially benefit.
Makes sense. It's about being proactive.
Which leads us towards wrapping up. And the sources leave us with a pretty stark choice, really.
Yeah, what's the choice?
It paints a picture of the future where you might either be working for AI agents or you'll be one of the people owning and directing them.
Wow. Working for the AI versus owning the AI.
Basically. And it boils down to a direct question for you, the listener. Are you going to be passive, just observing these massive changes? Or are you going to be an active builder, someone involved in the transactions shaping this new world?
So the final thought is really, which one are you? Or which one do you want to be?
Exactly. Because according to everything we've discussed from the sources, these AI agents aren't just some far-off dream. They're starting to happen now.
And the chance to get involved, to potentially harness this power, might be here already.
That's the takeaway. The opportunity might be closer than many people realize.